Welcome to episode 68 of Cameron Sports Podcast. It's your host here, Cameron Lindsay. Back on another episode. Today's episode, I'm going to be talking about week 2 of the college football playoff rankings, and I'm going to giving some of my week 11 NFL game picks. But to start off today's episode, I want to talk about real quick. Dallas Cowboys defensive end / linebacker Micah Parsons called out his head coach Mike McCarthy after a blowout loss to the Eagles 34-6 at home last week. Now, I wanted to talk about this real quick because I saw it on First Take, Get Up, and First Things First, and other shows, other sports talk shows. And, I think they were going in on Micah Parsons. Some were understanding where he was coming from, but I wanted to give my take on it. I think Micah is the best player on that Cowboys team by far. Don't get me wrong. I have a lot of respect for him. He is a great player, arguably a top 10 player in the league. But even if you are right, Michael McCarthy could go anywhere he wants, or you might not. You may feel a certain way about him. You shouldn't really say it out loud, especially to the media. Even if it's me or whoever, keep it to yourself. Keep it in the locker room. Really, you shouldn't even say it in the locker room, really, because that's at the end of the day, that's your head coach. Now, if he gets fired, moves on, then yeah, you can say it. You may not respect him all the way, but it's still your coach at the end of the day. I know Micah has his own podcast. I'm gonna start to check it out more, but I feel like he should worry more about football more than his podcast. Maybe do the podcast after more during the off season rather than during the season, so that way you can focus more on the games, because the Cowboys are, I think, they're 3-6 now. Dak is out for the season, so yeah. But I think, Micah is wrong in this situation. I think that he did say he cleared up. He did apologize. It was reported that him and Mike McCarthy had to sit down and talk things out. But yeah, I kind of have to disagree with Michael Parsons here in this situation. But yeah, now let me get into my college football playoff rankings. Week 2, they came out yesterday, Tuesday. Like I said, each week the college football playoff rankings come out around this time in November each week. And Oregon is still number 1. They're 10-0. Next game is this week at Wisconsin, 5-4. I'm going Oregon. Clearly, I think Oregon's going to dominate Wisconsin. Wisconsin's an average team, but they're not really great. Number 2 is Ohio State, still 8-1. Next game at Northwestern. Not going to waste no time with that. Northwestern's not a really good football team at all. They're 4-5. I'm going to Ohio State with that high-powered offense. And Will Howard, Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Ibuka, and the 2 running backs, Quinshon Judkins and Trevion Henderson. Number 3 is Texas, 8-1. Next game at Arkansas. Now that could possibly be a trap game, because the last time a top 7-5 team played Arkansas at home was Tennessee. They upset Tennessee. But I'm going to go Texas. Like I said, I trust Quinn Ewers. I trust Steve Sarkisian. I trust that offense with Isaiah Bond, the transfer wide receiver from Alabama. I think Texas is a legit team this year that can compete for the national championship. Number 4, Penn State, 8-1. Next game at Purdue. Not going to waste some time with that. I'm going Penn State. Purdue's not a good team at all. They're 1-8 for a reason. They're the worst team in the Big Ten. I think Penn State is going to clear Purdue. Number 5 is Indiana, 10-0. They got a bye week this week. Now, next week, they play Ohio State. That should be a real interesting game. I can't wait for that. But they're ranked 5th. I think that's a solid spot for Indiana. I did not see this coming, them being 10-0, because last year Indiana won 4 or 5 games, I think. And they're 10-0 for the first time in school history since however long ago. But yeah. Next up, number 6 is BYU. They're 9-0. Next game at home against Kansas. Now, this at Kansas, this could be a trap game, but I'm going to go BYU. Like I said, but they shouldn't take Kansas lightly. Kansas did upset Iowa State last week at home, which was a top 10 team. So I'm going BYU. I think they can handle business at home against Kansas. Number 7, Tennessee 8-1. Now, this game going to be the game of the week, I believe. They're at Georgia, number 12 Georgia. They're 7-2. Like I said, you know how, if y'all watch my episodes, you know how I feel about Carson Beck. I just don't trust him. I don't think he's an average to below average quarterback. I don't see all the hype on him coming into the season. People thinking Carson Beck will be the number 1 overall draft pick. Him, not Shador. And now look what happened. He has 12 interceptions. I was watching the game. The game by game person said Carson Beck has had 12 interceptions in the past 6 games. 12. That's a huge drop off. He's not the same. The offensive line is average. The defense didn't play that well, but Carson Beck didn't help at all. And I know, like I said, Tennessee has a pretty solid defense, I believe, and a pretty solid offense with redshirt freshman quarterback Nico Ialava. This game was at Tennessee. I will lean toward Tennessee, but I'm gonna go Georgia. Georgia, even though they got 2 losses, they're still Georgia. They did beat Texas on the road. That's their best win. So I'm gonna go slightly Georgia over Tennessee by maybe like 3-4 points. I could see it score like 24-23, 24-21, something like that. Yeah, by 3 points. But I just don't have no faith in Carson Beck. Next up, number 8 is Notre Dame. They're 8-1. They play Virginia, 5-4. Going Notre Dame. Number 9 is Miami. They're 9-1. Coming off a loss against Georgia Tech. At some point, this is why I say I got Miami winning the ACC, but I just don't love their chances in the college football playoff. Because their defense is suspect. They laying too much on Cam Ward. Look what happened at Georgia Tech. Cam, he didn't play his best game, and their defense is not that good. So, but they're still ranked number 9, still ranked in the top 10. I think they handle business with Wake Forest this week, 4-5. I got Miami. Number 10 is Alabama, 7-2. Play Mercer, 9-1. I'm not gonna waste my time with that. Alabama's gonna roll Mercer. Number 11 is Ole Miss, coming off a huge win at home against Georgia. They're 8-2. They go on the road to Florida. I think Ole Miss needs to be careful. This could be a trap game. Like I said, I know Florida's not good at all. They're retaining the head coach, Billy Napier. But I'm going to go Ole Miss to win this game. Like I said, I did say last week, I've been disappointed at Ole Miss. They've been overrated. They finally stepped up and got a huge win against Georgia. A huge win. But I got them over Florida. Next up, like I said, Georgia played Tennessee. I got Georgia. Georgia's ranked 12th. They fell from number 2. Number 2 to number 12 in the college football playoff rankings. Number 13 is Boise State, 8-1. Next game at Wyoming. I think Boise State's going to win that game, obviously. They don't got the strongest schedule, but a Heisman Trophy candidate in Ashton Jeanty, a really solid quarterback. I love their chances to win out and make the college football playoff. Next up is 14 SMU, 8-1. The next game is at home against Boston College. Boston College, I just saw on Instagram, their starting quarterback is entered the transfer portal because Bill O'Brien benched him, and he's taking some time away from the team. So with them missing their starting quarterback and have a quarterback controversy going on, I don't like Boston College's chances. So I'm going SMU in a big one at home to win that game. Next up, 15th ranked Texas A&M, 7-2. Played New Mexico State at home. I think that's going to be a win, obviously. 16 is Kansas State, 7-2. They play Arizona State at home, who's also 7-2. This could be a really good game. Like I said, but I'm going to lean towards Kansas State in a close one. Number 17th is Colorado, 7-2. Next game at home against Utah, who's 4-5. But real quick, like I said, it's funny. I haven't seen no Colorado slander ever. I try to tell people, I think Colorado's going to at least make a bowl game. They're going to win 6 games. Now, I didn't say going to possibly win the Big 12. And now look at them. They got a chance to, if they win out, Colorado's going to be playing in the Big 12 championship game. If they win that, they're going to be in the playoff. I haven't seen no Colorado slander. I try to tell people, Shadour's legit. Travis Hunter's the best player in all of college football. Like, matter of fact, like I was literally looked at his stats. He's first in snaps, third in the Big 12. He's third in receptions with 69. He's fourth in receiving yards in the Big 12 with 856. He's first in touchdown catches with 9. He's tied for 11th in interceptions with 2. He's 11th in all-purpose yards with 894. And he's tied for third with 7 pass breakups. He's clearly the best player in the Big 12, and he's clearly the best player of all college football. But, yeah, like, I think with Utah missing Cam Rising, not having him at quarterback, they had been starting Isaac Wilson. Now, Colorado does got, I know it's at home, but they still got to be careful because Utah is a pretty well-coached team. But I'm going Colorado. I just don't think Utah has anybody that can stop Travis Hunter. I don't think they got any really good pass rush this season. I think Shadour's going to have a really good game. They got Will Shepard. They got some, I forgot old buddy's name. They got a lot of good receivers on that Colorado team. They got a decent run game. So I'm going Colorado to win this game big over Utah. Next up, we got Washington State, 8-1 at New Mexico. I'm going Washington State. Louisville ranked 19th, 6-3 at Stanford. I'm going Louisville to win that game, the big one. Stanford has not been, they haven't really been the same since in a while. Next game got Clemson, 7-2 at Pitt. I'm gonna go Pitt in the upset. I'm going Pitt to win this game. Like I said, I just don't love Cade Klubnik. I love Dabo, but without him, he hasn't been the same. Without him dabbling in the transfer portal, their offense is mainly mid, but the defense is pretty solid. And Pitt has been pretty good this year. I ain't gonna hold you. Watching them, especially when they played my West Virginia Mountaineers, Pitt has been really pretty good. Actually, sleep like under the radar good. And with this game being at Pitt, I love their chances, so I'm going Pitt in the upset over Clemson. 21 is South Carolina, 6-3 at home against Missouri, 7-2. I'm going South Carolina with Missouri. I don't know with their quarterback being hurt in Cook, I think is his name. I love Luther Burden III. I just don't like their chances without their starting quarterback Cook. Now South Carolina, if they start their quarterback. Number 16 and not Ashford, they'll be fine. South Carolina is a pretty decent team. I'm going South Carolina to win this game by 10 points at least. Number 22, we got LSU, 6-3. Next game at home against Vanderbilt. I think this should be a pretty interesting game, but I'm going to go LSU in a, I say 10, I could say 7-10 points. I'm going LSU to bounce back after an embarrassing loss at home against Alabama. I kind of called that. I knew Alabama was going to win that game because I trust. I called. I said, if you watch my last episode, I said I think Alabama's going to win because I think Jalen Milroe is going to use his legs more. And guess what he did? He ran the ball for well over 100 yards. He didn't throw the ball much, all that well. Only a little bit over 100 yards passing. But he did run the ball very well with his legs. So I called that. Next up, we got Army, 23rd ranked Missouri, who's 7-2. Like I said, they play South Carolina. I got South Carolina. 24th is Army. They're 9-0. I know, right? I'm shocked the Army is 9-0. They play Notre Dame. I learned my lesson last time I bet against Notre Dame when they played at an academy school, when they played Navy. I'm going Notre Dame to win this game, the big one. I think Notre Dame crushes Army, like I said, because Notre Dame did an amazing job last time with that triple option offense against Navy. Army pretty much runs the same thing. So I'm going Notre Dame, but I do believe Army has a good chance to make the American Championship game despite losing this game this week to Notre Dame. And 25th rank is Tulane. They're at Navy. You know, I'm going to go Navy. I think besides Navy losing, getting crushed by Notre Dame, I'm going to go to upset. I think Navy's going to get the win against Tulane. Now, this is going to be a really good game because, like I said, I respect Tulane. They've been pretty good the past few seasons, Tulane. So I wouldn't underestimate Tulane, but I'm going to go Navy for the upset over Tulane. But yeah, those are the week 2 of the college football playoff rankings. If you haven't seen it, you can go on ESPN or on social media and check out the latest college football playoff rankings. Now, time for my week 11 predictions. I got 5 games that I made my predictions for, because not too many good games, and I don't want to talk too much for y'all, But yeah. First up, we got Thursday night football this week at 8:15 p.m. The Commanders 7-3 against the Eagles 7-2. The top 2 teams in the NFC East, because the other 2 are trash. The Cowboys and the Giants, horrible trash. I think it's possibly going to be Brian Daboll's last year in New York. If I was in New York, I would keep him, because it's not really his fault. He did take the Giants to the playoffs his first year with a terrible quarterback, Daniel Jones. He had Daniel Jones have a career year. He got Daniel Jones paid because of Brian Daboll. He got that $40 million contract because of Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll is a phenomenal offensive mind. I think he could be a pretty good coach. He's just in the wrong predicament. He has a bad quarterback, an average O-line, a horrible secondary, a mediocre to below receiving core besides Malik Neighbors. Yeah, but the Commanders and Eagles. Right now they got the Offensive Rookie of the Year, not even close, with Jaden Daniels. He's been playing phenomenal. I know he didn't have the best of game against Pittsburgh last week, but going against Cam Hayward and T.J. Watt, it's not easy. But it was a close game. He did play pretty good, pretty decently. The Eagles, I like Jalen Hurts. I don't think he's elite. I said it in a few episodes in the beginning of the season. Like I said, but he don't have to be elite. I don't think he's going to get back to that Super Bowl caliber season he had, but he just has to be not turnover prone. He did, besides that turnover, the interception he threw against Dallas last week, he went over 200-something pass attempts without an interception. So he's been taking good care of the football lately. So I think with that, this will be a close game, but I think the Eagles' key for victory is running the ball with Saquon. Get the ball to Saquon. Run the ball with him. He's an Offensive Player of the Year candidate. Saquon has been looking phenomenal. I feel like this is what he could look like with a really good offensive line, because the Eagles have a very good offensive line. Even though Jason Kelce retired, they got a phenomenal offensive line led by Lane Johnson. I'm going to go Eagles in a close one. I'll say 20 to like a low scoring 23-17. I say Eagles win it over the Commanders at home to take first place in the NFC East. Next up, we got a 1 o'clock game Sunday. Ravens 7-3 versus Steelers 7-2. I'm going to went back and forth with this one a little bit, because I love the way the Steelers defense are playing. Cam Hayward, T.J. Watt looking like the best pass rusher in all of football. Mika Fitzpatrick, Joey Porter Jr. They just traded for Preston Smith from Green Bay. So they added, and he's not an elite pass rusher, but he's a very good pass rusher. So don't underestimate Preston Smith. So with him coming off one edge, you got T.J. Watt on the other edge. You got Cam Hayward in the middle. That's a scary defense. You also got Roquan. You got what's his name? He left from the Ravens in free agency. I forgot his name, y'all. I know I'm gonna remember. But yeah, then the Ravens, even though the Ravens defense haven't been the same, they lost a couple key pieces, but you still got Kyle Hamilton, you still got old buddy from Alabama, Marlon Humphrey, but the reason and Russell Wilson has been playing pretty amazing since he came back from his injury and took over as a starting quarterback. Even though I wouldn't have replaced him with Justin Fields, because I think Justin Fields was doing a pretty good job. But hey, I'm not the head coach. That's Mike Tomlin's job. So hey, but I'm gonna go Ravens, and the reason is because, like I said, Lamar Jackson, he's the MVP front runner. I think, like I said, the Ravens' key for victory is running the ball with Derrick Henry. You got to run the ball more than you pass it, because you do that, you're going to lose. Look what happened when the Ravens played the Raiders at home. They lost that game because they stopped giving the ball to Derrick Henry. They try to pass the ball more. And you can't do that with this elite Steelers defense with Cam Hayward, Preston Smith, T.J. Watt. You try to pass the ball more, you're going to get Lamar hurt. It's going to be a long day for him. But if he uses his legs, you run the ball with Derrick Henry, run the ball 25, 30 times, I believe Baltimore will come out the victory in this game because I think they got the better quarterback. At this point in Russell Wilson's career, Lamar is a better quarterback. Russell Wilson, he's a future Hall of Famer, flat out. But right now, Lamar Jackson is the MVP frontrunner. He had just as many touchdown passes as he did his MVP last year. He already has 24. So I don't think this should be a game that he passes the ball a lot. This should be a game where he uses his legs and run the ball with Derrick Henry, especially going against that Steelers defensive line. But I'm going Ravens in a close one. Next up, we got the Falcons-Broncos, Sunday, 4:05 p.m. I'm going Falcons. In this one, I think this will be a pretty solid game. I think Falcons coming off a loss on the road against the Saints. Broncos coming off a close, heartbreaking loss on the road to Kansas City. They almost won that game, but they got that field goal blocked. And yeah, Kansas City, yet again, coming off a close win against another team. But I'm going Falcons. Like I said, I trust Kirk Cousins more than I do Bo Nix, even though Bo Nix has been playing pretty solid. He's probably the second. If Jaden Daniels was not in the league this year, Bo Nix would probably be Offensive Rookie of the Year. He probably would. I think he's been playing better football than Caleb Williams. And people like Nick Wright, who was bet on Caleb Williams bandwagon before he even took an NFL snap, having him the second best quarterback in the league. Like, what? Caleb Williams hadn't even taken a snap at all. He's still in college. Now look at him. Like, I like Caleb Williams. I think he will be special, but let's slow the road. Like, he hasn't been playing all that well at all. You got Keenan Allen. You got Rome Odunze. You got DJ Moore. You got DeAndre Swift. You got Cole Kmet. You got now their offensive line. They do need to fix that. So in the draft, in the offseason, you need to fix that offensive line because it ain't good. But they did fire their offensive coordinator. But like I said, I'm going Falcons in a close one. I will say it will be a close one because Denver does have a really good elite defense led by arguably the best cornerback in all of football, Patrick Surtain. I'm going Falcons in a close one over the Broncos. Next up, we got the Chiefs, 9-0 versus the Bills, 8-2. This game could be game of the week, I think. It's going to be America's game of the week. I went back and forth with this one a little bit also because even though I hate the Chiefs because they're in the same division as my Chargers, it's hard to bet against Mahomes. It's like every week they find a way to win. I tell my girlfriend, I just be like, yeah, at this point, they probably going to go back to the Super Bowl. And she'd be like, Kansas City won again? I'd be like, yep. Or we'll be watching football together. So, Kansas City won again? I'd be like, yep. I mean, because when you got Patrick Mahomes, the best player, quarterback in the league, you got Andy Reid, who's the best head coach in the league, Travis Kelce, who may not be what he once was on a decline a little bit, he's still Travis Kelce. You got to double team him. You got to respect him. They got an elite defense led by Chris Jones. They got Trent McDuffie, who's an elite corner. Even though they traded Ladarius Sneed in free agency in the offseason, they still got a very elite defense. And it's like all Kansas City got to do is help. The defense got to handle their business. The offense can score like 17, 20 points, and they still win because their defense is really very elite. They can get pressure. Their secondary is good, led by Trent McDuffie. But the Bills have won 3 of the past 4 regular season meetings against Kansas City. Even though they can't beat the Chiefs when it matters most in the playoffs, this is the regular season, not the playoffs. If there was the playoffs, of course I would go Kansas City. But I thought about it more. This is at Buffalo, not Kansas City. Josh Allen is looking like an MVP candidate. He's playing phenomenal football. He's turning the ball over less. They're running the ball pretty well with James Cook. Their receivers are looking pretty decently. I don't know if Mark Cooper is going to play because he was hurt in the last game, I think. But I'm going to go Buffalo in a close one. I'm not that confident. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like a 5. But I'm going Buffalo because, like I said, this is a regular season game, not a playoff game. Buffalo has won 4 of the past regular season matchups against Kansas City. They just can't beat the Chiefs during the playoffs. So if the Buffalo Bills and the Chiefs meet in the playoffs or the AFC Championship game, I would go Kansas City. But since it's the regular season, I'm going to go Buffalo. I think Buffalo finally gives Kansas City their first loss because Kansas City has been playing their best football. I think this is a loss that Kansas City does need. So that'll take the pressure off of them to like, okay, we're undefeated, or we're gonna go 17-0, or we're gonna do this, or we're gonna do that, or we're gonna rest players. If they get the loss out now, they'll be okay. Now they want to get the number 1 seed. They have to make sure they win more games than Buffalo, because if Kansas City gets 2 losses and Buffalo wins out, they'll have to have the tiebreaker over Kansas City. But I'm going, like I said, I'm going Buffalo in a very close one to win over Kansas City Chiefs at home. Now, this last game is a Sunday Night Football. Bengals 4-6 versus my Chargers 6-3. I just got a quick couple of keynotes to let y'all know. Did y'all know my Chargers lead the league in scoring defense, only allowing 13 points per game? Right? Amazing, right? Also, my Chargers are just the 4th team in the last 40 years to held each opponent in the first 9 games under 21 points. That included the Kansas City Chiefs. So even though we lost to the Chiefs, they didn't even score under 21 points. And I'm proud of my Chargers team. We finally got an elite football coach in Jim Harbaugh. We got an elite quarterback. Even though Justin Herbert's numbers are down, he got 11 touchdown passes, only 1 pick, a little bit over, maybe 2,000 yards, a little bit under 2,000 yards passing. But his completion percentage is really good. Quentin Johnston is looking good. His second year receiver out of TCU, who we drafted in the first round, he's having a better year, because last year he was terrible. He only had 2 touchdowns all last year. And this year he has more than that, way more than, I think he has 4 or 5, like 5. He's playing well. We got now. I know we pretty much do got a mediocre receiving core, but him, Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey, them two are looking very, very well. And I was watching a video for Pick a Side podcast, and they were saying the top 5 quarterbacks in the league right now are Lamar, and no order is Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. And I completely agree with that. And they said the only person that had been disrespected was Justin Herbert. These past few years, he's been disrespected so much, and it is making me mad. Because people act like Justin Herbert plays defense. Look who we had as head coach. We had Brandon Staley, who was terrible. Terrible. I think the year before that, we have Anthony Lynn, who was also terrible. Like, what can Justin Herbert do? He been doing what he can each year. I know in that playoff game, we was up 27-0 against Jacksonville. Guess how we lost that game? Because of our defense. Because Brandon Staley decided to play Mike Williams in the last game of the season, our second best receiver, got him hurt, and he wasn't even available for that game. That was on them. Now we finally got a elite coach. Our run game is still not all that good, but it's a little bit better. Our tackles are fine with Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, our first-round pick in this year's draft. Our defense is looking phenomenal. I'm proud of our defense. Even though Joey Bosa still his health, but Khalil Mack, Derwin James, them boys have been playing very well. I'm proud of them. I think we will make the playoffs. I'm not going to now win the division. I don't know, but I don't think nobody wants to play my Chargers in the playoffs. But I just have to say those stats. But of course, I'm going my Chargers. This is going to be an easy game because you still got Joe Burrow. You got to respect him, a top 5 quarterback. Jamar Chase, a top 5 receiver. I don't know if T. Higgins is going to play. I think he may or may not. I'll still have to watch that. But yeah, I'm going to my Chargers in a close one. Like I said, I'm going to be nervous because, like I said, still got to respect Cincinnati. But I'm going my Chargers to win this game, Sunday Night Football. Bolts up, baby. Bolt up. So me and my girlfriend definitely going to be watching this game. So, yeah. But, yeah, that's, what all I want to talk about today's episode. Like I said, Michael Parsons, the college football playoff rankings, week 2, my NFL week 11 predictions. But, yeah, I appreciate each one of y'all tuning in for another episode of Cameron Sports Podcast. This was episode 68. Like I said, I posted a new episode for the UFC 309 fight. That episode should be uploaded soon. And this episode that you're watching now will be uploaded. So I got 2 episodes this week that I'm posting. So please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at Cam_Lindsay24. Follow my sports podcast page at Cameron Sports Podcast on Instagram also. Facebook, Cameron Lindsay. And I'll see y'all next week for another episode. I think that episode I'm going to have a special guest join me on my podcast. Stay tuned.